Okay, folks. Um, Good news, bad news with the old Rover today. The good news is that, ta-da, we're not sitting on the bump stops anymore. So the old air suspension has started suspending again. Bad news is for some reason the brake lights seem to be permanently on, but it sure is good to see this thing not down on the bump stops, and I think all four corners seem to be working. Since you last saw us, we went full animal here on the old fuel door. I also cut my finger. Woe is me. Not here, by the way, but at another location further up front. Getting set to put the charging port in. So yeah, the compressor has been running for about 15 or 20 minutes, and I just came out and all of a sudden this thing is going full low rider, like it's bouncing up and down, and I'm hearing clicking and hissing and all kinds of stuff. So it was, yeah, I guess it took a while to figure out the necessary air pressure or whatever. Now, while we've got this going on, I'm going to go ahead and pop the bonnet and we'll show you guys what we've had going on in here. Now you will notice that things are significantly different under the bonnet since your last visit in here. Our air suspension compressor is compressing and there's random clicking sounds, which I assume are the solenoid valves doing their thing in there. Over here I was quite lucky in that my local scrapyard had one of these and I was able to get the matching plug for this body harness connector here. So once I got that stripped out, we've got the grey wire here that you see the green crocodile clip on. Just got a little Arduino board I just threw together, whatever it is, Arduino Mega or something. Transistor and a resistor, and all that's doing at the minute is just providing 75 Hertz open collector drive onto this tachometer wire here. Just putting about 1150 RPM on the tach, and is obviously convincing the greater Rover componentry that the old I'm not going to do that again, the engine is engineing instead of this battery bank. So big kind of remodeling job, as I did mention in the last video, was getting the terrible battery box that had been in here out, getting a new one made, fitted, fabricated, la-di-da. So that's all done now. I didn't video any part of that process because I was trying to get it done. But what I did do is take loads of stills, so I will throw in some of those stills at the end of this video for anyone that might be interested to see some of the intermediate steps. So no longer do we have no way of fitting things in here. We got all our batteries in the middle here. Nice fit. These you'll see these kind of pillars here, which are 80 by 40 box section steel that are welded to the frame, and oh, it stopped. Wow, amazing. Anyway, that makes life easier for video editing. These 80 by 40 pillars, and we basically capped those with some flat and tapped in for 10mm bolts, and this will allow me to fit a tray up here that we can put things like the inverter and high voltage junction box and battery charger and all that fun packed stuff in there. Down under here now we can actually go in. Well, hey, down under here you will see we have a tray for the 12 volt battery. So that's all fitted down here. It's all welded in. There's no potential for anything here to foul the undercarriage anymore. It turned out that there'd been a block of wood shoved under this bump stop here, because had the suspension bottomed out with the original battery box, the differential here would have burst right up through the middle of our battery box, and that would have been, as they say at NASA, an off-nominal situation. So we've loads of room. Oh, I'm getting too old for this. We've loads of room up the front here for a cooling radiator. You see we have the cooling hoses to the motors fitted. They're just kind of sitting here at the minute. They're not doing much. Down here we've our power steering pump fitted. That's in place, plumbed in. I have the high current power to that. I just need to pick up an ignition on 12 volts to trigger that. I'll just trigger it manually for you guys here in a minute, and we'll show you the power steering working. So not sure if we had this done the last time, but we've the two big 70 square cables in coming up from the rear battery box to join up our front and rear batteries. So that's kind of progress report. I'll go ahead and power up the power steering for you, then we'll have a look inside the vehicle, where unfortunately the news is not so good. Alright, so in case people ask, and I have mentioned this in several videos, this is my go-to pump for converting vehicles with hydraulic power steering. It's from the Opel or Vauxhall Zafira. It's a very simple electro-hydraulic pump that has all the bits in it that we need. They're about 20-30 euros on eBay. We just got a single 12 volt connection to trigger the pump on, so I'm just going to do that manually for you here. You'll hear the pump spin up. The pump comes up. At the minute there still is some air in the system here, but it will throttle back down once we get that air out. So once we open the driver's door here, and we'll be able to see we have very easy to turn steering wheel. You'll hear the pump loading up. So super easy now to turn the wheels, whereas it had been an absolute nightmare previously. So all very simple stuff. Oh, clicking sounds from the air suspension. So anyway, yeah, all I got to do is pick up a 12 volt ignition on for this, and then we'll be all set. So right, let me shut this off, and we'll go have a look inside the vehicle. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to show you this, or possibly not actually. I did mention in the last video that with all these pieces of trim pulled out, and I couldn't really figure out why. But I think I do now know why. So, only discovered this when we went to put in the cooling hoses to the motors. Now the motors, as we know, are mounted down here in the middle of the vehicle. Now the seats had also been unbolted, and you'll see here there's just a single bolt holding that front seat mount. So I'm going to just let that bolt off. Now the seat will then tilt all the way back for us. Then I discovered, much to my horror, that if we pull back some of this carpet, that our motors are practically inside the vehicle. So this seat mount is gone, as is most of the floor pan here all the way around underneath the carpet. I'll try and get this up a little bit, you'll be able to see more of it. It's kind of just hard to pull back the carpet there, but it's the same on both sides of the vehicle. So you know, that's a real problem, because the seat mount is a critical part of the vehicle structure. So there's no way that it would pass an MOT test in the UK with, you know, all of that metal cut out. So now that's not something that I'm going to be in a position to put right here. The vehicle owner in the UK is going to have to, I would say, get fairly significant reworking done on this part to put, you know, strength back in so we can pick up the seat mounts and stuff like that. It does explain why I have so many errors here on the dash, because everything underneath the seats has been unplugged, so that, I would say, explains the SRS error and a few things like that. So yeah, at least we know now why all the trim had been pulled out. It was basically to butcher the, I guess, what did I call it, the, not the frame, the body, basically just to conveniently mount the motors here in the middle position. So that is the situation there. You'll have seen on the tack we're at about 1150 with 75 hertz going in on that, just that little Arduino thing. Oh yeah, I've also taken out the mechanical throttle pedal, fitted, I've just got it loosely sitting here at the minute, our E46 Hall Effect electronic throttle. So I'll have to mount that. We'll come up with some kind of a mounting strap. Gee, is that a fan? Yes, it is. To come up with some kind of a mounting strategy for that. Yeah, so that's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of our P38 update. P38 update. Oh, there you go. So, but yeah, we got our front batteries figured out, and our air suspension seems to be working straight out of the box, which I do have to say I am delighted with. As apart from that, it just makes it easier to work on the vehicle. Even in a situation like this, I can just put axle stands under that now and let it sit down on them without having to go jacking stuff up. So that's really useful. Got to work out as well what we're going to do for heating, because it is getting into winter, but we've plenty of space here and that to mount everything. The frame's been just coated with weld-through primer here, so we can easily tack on little brackets and bits and bobs or whatever else that we might need. So that, oh, come on camera. So that is about it for today's little update on the Rover. Want to thank people for all the useful comments on the last video, because my usual comments are, Damien, you're doing it wrong, whereas this time there was actually some helpful info, so thank you folks. Alright, I'll leave you there. Don't forget to dislike, unshare, and unsubscribe. Check the links in the description for the usual suspects, including Patreon, PayPal, Open Inverter Forum, GitHub, all that stuff. We'll be back soon. And until then, happy air suspending.